Now, my fellow Knicks fans, just sticking to the point guard issue, Leon Rose is faced with a situation where he has to be patient while dealing with a New York market that's forever pressing. Why? Well, for starters, I think my fellow Knicks fans, we've forgotten how important it is when you have someone that can facilitate an offense, how it brings out the best in other players. And we could see this no further than what's going on in Philadelphia. Now, with the James Harden trade, now they have a guy who can actually facilitate offense and draw double teams and be a threat. And so we even see guys like Tyrese Maxey all of a sudden looking like a different player. For some of you fellas that are not in the know, Philly's big three right now is looking like James Harden, Embiid, and Tyrese Maxey, followed by Tobias Harris, even though Tobias Harris is under a max contract. So just to get someone that could facilitate offense, which we don't have at all, could completely change the trajectory of a lot of our players. I mean, we got Randall and RJ having a pretty decent season stat-wise with having no one to facilitate the offense. That's why we look so clunky in the fourth quarter. We pretty much have no choice but leaving it up to these guys to actually not only create a good shot for themselves, but actually try to find other guys open, which off rip creates a little issue because we already have these guys playing out of position. That's why we're seeing all these turnovers in the fourth quarter and all these blown leads. Shit, we even have turnovers in game-winning possessions in which we didn't even get a shot attempt. And all these crunch time turnovers and fourth quarter blown leads has been pretty much the story of our whole season. I mean, the Knicks blew a 21-point lead to the Lakers, a 12-point lead to the Jazz. We even had a 23-point lead against the Trail Blazers, in which, of course, the fucking whole fan base almost lost their mind. That was one of the worst losses of the season. And the same thing happened to the OKC Thunder, in which we had an 11-point lead. Then we lost a 28-point lead to the Nets. And then the same thing against the Miami Heat, which that's a very good team, but we played it great until the end. And we just blew that 10-point lead. And same thing with the 76ers. We was kind of going at them the whole game. That was one of, I believe, the first home games James Harden had with the 76ers. And then we blew a 16-point lead at the end. Same thing with the Phoenix Suns. We blew that 14-point lead. And then a 15-point lead against Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. So that all happened in a short span, but it's like that's been the story of the whole fucking season. And a lot of this is happening is because we have our key guys such as RJ Barrett and Randall trying to create shots for themselves in crunch time. And that was a major issue we seen play out with the Clippers in the bubble against the Denver Nuggets. They had no point guard to facilitate, so they try to have Kawhi Leonard and Paul George kind of be those guys to create their own shot in crucial moments, which they can do, but they had them doing that for a whole game throughout a whole series. That's why they end up losing. And then they went on to try to find guys like Reggie Jackson, someone to facilitate the point guard role. That's why they were kept on searching. They even got Rondo before they made that trade, etc. They understood that they can't have their stars in a position for a whole game in which they're dribbling non-stop, trying to find other guys open, and then trying to create that spacing for themselves for all four quarters. Maybe at the end of the game they can do that, or throughout one quarter, but for a whole game in a 7-game series, it's just not gonna work. And we've seen that play out for the whole season for the Knicks, especially when Derrick Rose was out since December 16th. That shit even got worse. And that's why this has resulted in the Knicks having the worst net rating for crunch time situations in the whole league. And Evan Fournier, man, he contributes to that a lot. He's one of the worst players to have on the floor in crunch time situations, offensively and defensively. But Evan Fournier this season, man, you can't tell what the fuck he is this season. I mean, Evan is on the verge of just breaking John Starks' record for threes made by a Knick in a single season, which I believe John Starks has 217. So Evan has a chance to break that. And we still have about more than like 10 games to go. And believe it or not, Evan is actually 7th in the league in threes made. And once again, this is what I'm saying. Leon Rose has a conundrum on his hands, man. He got to be patient to find this, point guard to at least facilitate the offense. Because believe it or not, man, if we could find someone to give Evan the ball in key spots, Evan could really turn out to be a really good piece for us, especially in getting the floor spaced out. Now that sounds crazy, but that's just what it is. I mean, 7th in the league in threes made, you can't really fake that. And that's with no point guard. Once again, once we get someone to facilitate the offense, these guys can play a lot better. And that's no shot to Kemba Walker. Kemba, just due to his knees, he can't really get to the hoop like that and create for other guys. He's turned into a really good spot up shooter, but on a consistent basis, those knees are not going to really allow him to do what we want out of a point guard. He's doing something that Evan is already doing, which is spot up, threes, but we need someone to facilitate that offense.